Good evening and welcome, my friends, to a most peculiar gathering. Tonight, as autumn winds whisper through skeletal trees and shadows stretch across forgotten graveyards, I invite you on a journey into the dark corners of gaming history. These are not the tales that everybody tells around the flickering campfire. Oh, no. These are games that lurked in darkness, titles that crept into store shelves only to vanish like the morning mist before anybody could appreciate their macabre charm. I've spent years digging through the crypts of old magazines, prowling through dusty forum archives, talking to collectors who guard their treasures like ancient relics. And what have I found? 5 deliciously overlooked Halloween gems from the golden age of retro gaming. These aren't your Castlevanias or Ghouls and Ghosts, oh no. These games arrived like uninvited guests at a masquerade ball. They delivered their seasonal magic and then they disappeared into obscurity. And the great thing about these games, they are so old, they'll run on any device that you have. So there is no excuse not to load up a ROM and give one a go yourself. Some possessed genuine innovation, yet suffered tragic commercial failures. Others materialized at precisely the wrong moment, or on platforms that aged faster than the milk in a vampire's fridge. But tonight, we shall resurrect them from their digital graves. From witch-based shooters to ghostly revenge simulators, these titles offer something truly different. The games range from brilliant to merely atmospheric, but each one captures that special Halloween spirit without the cheap jump scares. After all, pixelated skeletons often possess more personality than modern photorealistic zombies. So dim the lights, settle in, and prepare for a theatrical tour through gaming's forgotten Halloween treasures. I promise that you might discover at least one game that's completely new to you. Shall we begin? The witching hour approaches. Let's kick things off with Cauldron from 1985. This came out on the Commodore 64 and ZX Spectrum, and it's been a bit of a strange one. This has got a strange backstory. Palace Software got the rights to make John Carpenter's Halloween as a video game. This was right after their really successful Evil Dead adaptation. It sounds brilliant, but it never actually happened. The designer, Steve Brown, hit a rather significant problem. An 8-pixel-high Michael Myers simply didn't look scary. Plus, this was the 1980s. Anti-violence campaigners were in full swing, led by folks like Mary Whitehouse in the UK, making direct slasher adaptations commercially risky. Or at least as risky as anything could be when your main character is 8 pixels tall. So they pivoted to a family-friendly Halloween theme instead. You play as a witch, fighting a villain called the Pumpkin. And no matter how many times I say that, it always sounds like it's actually a lot ruder than it is. This creative transformation resulted in one of the most innovative games of 1985. Cauldron merged 2 completely different gameplay styles into one engine, and that was a big technical achievement for the 80s. The outdoor sections play like scrolling shooters. You're piloting your broomstick through landscapes packed with bats and ghosts and pumpkins and sharks and... Sharks, yes, I don't know why, except to say that Jaws was rather big in the 80s. You're hunting for coloured keys whilst your magic energy constantly drains away. And once you've got the keys, the underground caverns open up and you shift into pure platforming. You're gathering 6 spell ingredients through precise jumping to brew spells that defeat the pumpkin. I can't just say that name anymore. Now, I won't pretend that this game isn't brutally difficult. The developers played individual segments rather than full runs. And this created punishing difficulty spikes and blind jumps. Landing your broomstick required finding specific tiles. Any obstacle meant instant failure. The European C64 version had harsh collision damage. It was so bad that they actually adjusted for it in the North American release. The Commodore 64 had smooth scrolling, whilst the Spectrum and Amstrad relied on flip screening, and the Spectrum port lacked energy replenishment entirely. And that meant that you had to memorize the entire map or perish trying. Despite these challenges, Cauldron succeeded commercially. It even spawned a 1986 sequel where the pumpkin seeks revenge, because presumably somebody had watched Attack of the Killer Tomatoes. But Cauldron is audacious in ways that modern games simply aren't. Fire up Cauldron today and you'll understand why gaming was more interesting when developers had no safety net. This is what happens when commercial desperation meets genuine talent. The result is messy, unbalanced, and absolutely worth experiencing. Developers today wouldn't dare do this. From witches on broomsticks to vengeful teenage spirits, our next game takes the concept of Halloween haunting into a completely different direction. Moving to 1993, we have got Haunting, starring Poltergeist, for Sega Genesis. This one is fascinating. It subverted every platforming convention of its era. Electronic Arts developed it in-house during their experimental period. A haunting game that lets you play as the ghost. You control Poltergeist, a teenage ghost seeking revenge on corrupt businessman Vito Sardini and his yuppie family. The backstory is rather dark. Poltergeist died after cheap products from Sardini's company caused his skateboard to break. Now he's haunting the family through their opulent homes, trying to scare them into fleeing. It's rather like Home Alone if you were the burglars, except you're dead and there's no Kevin McAllister. The genius lies in the possession mechanics. Over 400 unique scare animations. Not recoloured sprites or pixel swaps, it's actually unique animations. Objects activate in 3 different ways. Blue frightens trigger automatically when family members approach. Orange frightens require manual timing. Green frightens grant direct control of possessed objects. Every possession feels different. A piano might play itself, a painting's eyes follow people around the room, a toilet explodes spectacularly. The variety is absurd. You're constantly experimenting to discover what each object does, and the family members each have distinct personalities. They react differently to various scares. Some are braver, some panic faster, but you don't just get to explore this game without hindrance. The family dog can see you and bark at Poltergeist, draining your ectoplasm. When the ectoplasm energy depletes, Poltergeist enters the underworld to collect more whilst dodging bats and skulls. Electronic Arts made this during their experimental era and it shows. This isn't a game that fits neatly into any genre. Not quite a platformer, not quite action. It's rather like if Beetlejuice got hold of a copy of The Sims. In 1993, people didn't know what to make of it, so it flopped commercially. But here's why haunting matters. It's experimenting with concepts that wouldn't become mainstream for years. Emergent gameplay where you're experimenting with systems rather than following linear paths, playing as the antagonist. Environmental storytelling through how the family decorates their homes. This game was ahead of its time in ways that most people still don't realise. Those 400 animations weren't just technical showing off, they represented commitment to making every scare feel personal and creative. Modern games with massive budgets don't put this much variety into their interactions. Haunting managed it on a Genesis cartridge in 1993, and that's why this is here. Whilst EA was experimenting on consoles, the PC Shareware scene was perfecting a completely different approach to Halloween gaming. Our third game is Monster Bash from 1993, Apogee's DOS shareware at its absolute peak, and this one's just pure unfiltered fun. You play as 11-year-old Johnny Dash, rescuing his dog Tex from Count Chuck. Everything about this game is turned up for maximum enjoyment. The EGA graphics are vibrant and colourful, the monster designs are charming rather than scary, the slingshot physics feel absolutely perfect. You're battling zombies, witches, skeletons across 28 levels, collecting candy and power-ups. This is a big game, and it was Apogee's first shareware that exceeded 1 megabyte. That created download challenges for people who were on 1200 bytes per second modems back when downloading a game took longer than finishing it. Apogee created Monster Bash Lite with fewer levels for easier downloading. The shareware model gave you 10 free levels. Episodes 2 and 3 required purchase, but that first episode was so good, enough people were willing to pay. But the game wasn't without issues. After release, complaints about upside-down feet plagued the game. The feet were apparently the worst culprit, pointing in directions that defied gravity in ways that would make the cast of Wicked jealous. But Apogee were smart cookies, and so they soon removed them. Monster Bash captures Halloween as a celebration rather than a horror. It isn't trying to scare you, it's capturing that feeling of trick or treat as a child when monsters were fun rather than frightening. The difficulty has spikes, certainly. The slingshot demands skill, but infinite continues means that you're never really truly stuck. You're always progressing in some way or another. This is Halloween gaming at its most accessible. No edgy horror, no jump scares, just a kid with a slingshot fighting cartoon monsters to save his dog. And sometimes that's exactly what you want, and Monster Bash delivers it better than almost anything else from that era. DOS Shareware dominated North America, but across the Atlantic, European developers were crafting their own Halloween experiences. Next up is Yo-Jo for Amiga in 1993. Developed by a German studio, this game deserved considerably better than it received. It's vibrant, cartoony, it's an action platformer starring your heroes Yo and Joe battling through levels packed with ghosts and goofy monsters. The game radiates Saturday morning cartoon energy, but what makes it special is the two-player simultaneous co-op mode. Really innovative for 1993 with intelligent camera work, no fighting over screen space, no cheap split-screen compromise, just well-designed cooperative play. The weapon system has real depth as well. You start with basic attacks, but collect weapons with unique property. Nunchucks let you grab ledges, but lack power. Steel pipes allow jumping attacks, but restrict crawling. Chainsaws prove effective, but need fuel. It's rather like a hardware store crossed with a fighting game. 6 large levels feature branching paths, secret rooms, and destructible walls. The music represents extraordinary achievement here. 44 minutes of atmospheric tracks using the module format. It achieved compositions in minimal file sizes. It's technical wizardry that most players would just never notice. But here's the tragedy. Yo-Jo released during the Amiga's decline as consoles dominated the market. It competed against Super Frog and Zool with no major publishing visibility. A planned Mega Drive port was cancelled, though a DOS version was completed. The game vanished faster than free candy at a dentist's office. Yo-Jo proves that quality doesn't guarantee success. Everything was working against it. The wrong platform, the wrong timing, the wrong market. But that cooperative mode and the weapon variety demonstrates real design intelligence. Play this with a friend and you will wonder why it wasn't a Halloween staple. This deserved to be remembered alongside the best platformers of its era. Instead, it became a footnote. And that's why I'm putting this before you now. Speaking of things that deserve better recognition, sometimes Halloween magic hides in the most unexpected of places. Our final recommendation is kind of unusual. We're celebrating a single pinball table, Nightmare from Pinball Dreams on the Amiga back in 1992. This is the ultimate niche pick, but bear with me. Digital Illusions CE was formed by Swedish demo scene group The Silence. These were people who spent years pushing Amiga hardware to its absolute limits just for the artistic challenge. When they went commercial with pinball simulation, they brought that technical obsession with them. The idea sparked when a team member sketched tables in Deluxe Paint and they realised that vertical scrolling could simulate realistic pinball. Combined with their demo scene experience, they created physics that actually felt authentic. Pinball Dreams features 4 tables. Nightmare is the Halloween one. The graveyard theme features gravestones, demons, ghosts, rendered in dark blues and blacks. Gothic horror that creates Halloween atmosphere without attempting to scare you. And the table mechanics are cleverly designed. Die rollovers increase bonus multipliers by up to 10 times. RIP targets activate mystery spin features, awarding bonuses. When reaching midnight triggers hurry-up modes. Some players report the table haunts their dreams more effectively than actual nightmares, which seems rather backwards, but here we are. Olaf Gustafsson's module music draws inspiration from 1960s horror films. The realistic physics adhere to gravity and momentum, creating an authentic pinball feel. That game sold over 650,000 copies in its first year. We had a copy and played it for hours. The ball physics were so realistic, they occasionally filed for workers' compensation. The money that this game raised funded Digital Illusions into the more modern DICE that we know now, the creators of Battlefield. The Nightmare table proves that you don't need a full game to create the definitive Halloween experience. This one table captures Gothic atmosphere better than countless full releases. It's Halloween distilled into silver ball physics and graveyard aesthetics. And if you've never experienced why people obsess over this particular digital pinball table, a Nightmare is your introduction. Load it up, chase that high score whilst ghost sound effects echo around you. So there you have it. 5 Halloween games that deserve your attention. What unites them is that they embrace the Halloween spirit without relying on jump scares or graphic horror. Bats, pumpkins, ghosts, ghouls, all used with affection rather than malice. The beauty of these hidden gems lies in their accessibility today. Emulation has preserved these titles for modern audiences. They are easier to experience now than when they were originally released. You don't even need to hunt down rare cartridges or maintain vintage hardware, though purists are going to argue that nothing beats the authentic experience. But before we wrap up, I've got one more for you, a special mention that doesn't quite fit with the others, but it's too interesting to leave out entirely. The Adventures of Dr. Franken for the Super Nintendo in 1994. And I've got to be upfront here. Dr. Franken isn't brilliant by any objective measure. It's got poor hit detection, confusing controls, and repetitive design. But some games transcend quality metrics and offer valuable experiences despite their shortcomings. Dr. Franklin is not one of those. It's best appreciated for its atmosphere and music rather than its polish. Movie Time developed this as an enhanced Game Boy port, taking monochromatic visuals and turning them into colourful 16-bit graphics, and I really do love the graphics on this. You're controlling Frankie as he recovers his girlfriend Bits's scattered body parts across 20 levels, with Metroidvania-style gates blocking your progress until you find the right items. The enemy designs fully commit to that B-movie absurdity. Skateboarding dogs, grannies wielding walkers as weapons, elderly people are treated as genuine boss-level threats, which is either ageism or deeply respectful. I don't know which. The whole thing balances gothic horror with campy humour in a way that shouldn't work but somehow does. The standout element is Mark Cooke's soundtrack. He arranged classical compositions into 16-bit techno. Beethoven's Moonlight Sonata features prominently. Bach's Fugue No. 2 creates suspense. These arrangements transform these classics into haunting soundscapes, creating an atmosphere that the gameplay simply doesn't match. Control issues plagued this experience. Attack direction depends on button press rather than character orientation. Hit detection feels shoddy. Strong enemies deplete health quickly. There are no boss fights, which is puzzling for a 93-94 platformer. These problems create steep difficulty. The controls suggest the developer tested the game with oven mitts on. Despite the flaws, Dr. Franklin creates B-moving atmosphere worth experiencing. The classical music elevates mundane platforming into something almost memorable. For Halloween enthusiasts seeking the curiosity over polish, it delivers a flawed but atmospheric journey. It represents the mid-tier SNES library perfectly. Worth trying once, just once, with the sound turned up. Halloween gaming need not begin and end with Castlevania or Ghouls and Ghosts. These hidden gems await your discovery, ready to deliver seasonal atmosphere that transcends decades. Let me know in the comments which of these titles intrigues you the most, or share your own Halloween hidden gems that deserve recognition. I'd love to hear about obscure seasonal games that I might have missed in my research. Perhaps you remember a forgotten title that captured Halloween magic in ways that these titles missed. If you enjoyed this exploration of overlooked retro titles, consider subscribing for more deep dives into gaming history. There are countless forgotten games deserving attention, stories waiting to be told, histories worth preserving. Next time, we'll venture beyond the mundane into a completely different territory. Until then, may your Halloween gaming be filled with friendly ghosts rather than technical horrors. Happy Halloween, folks.